We're going to talk about modern couples today. I'm excited to have this conversation, Camille, mainly because when we talk about modern couples, or they talk about the modern woman, and modern men and stuff like that, there's this deviation away from, I guess you would say, traditional values. And then if it's from us, as men and women of God, traditional Christian values. And so people are avoiding marriage and finding all of these different things that are wrong with marriage nowadays, where it's like everything about marriage is to be avoided. It's like, it's one-sided to women. Women can divorce a man. From a male perspective, a lot of men are saying like, there is just no real benefit to marrying a woman. It's actually puts you in a worse situation, especially if it goes wrong. And so I want to kick it off with you and ask, why does it feel like modern couples are avoiding marriage? And what are some of the things that you feel like you're seeing from the ladies?
Well, I have a lot of lady friends and things like that. We talk about everything. And I think a lot of them are tired of the fact that men are not wanting to get married and not wanting to get serious, right? So they feel like it's one-sided. And so therefore now they're like, yeah, if he wants to just chill and have fun, I'm going to do that too. And that's going to be okay. And so he shouldn't expect that I have to be a certain way, that I have to give him all my attention and things like that, so that I don't expect it. And honestly, I would have to say it comes from a place of being hurt, probably in the past, to where you felt like you gave your all, you felt like you put 110% in relationships and things, and then it's just like, oh, they can barely say I love you and things like that. So that's why I think a lot of women, especially now, are just like, no, I'm going to play that game too.
Yeah, so it sounds like overall just a issue of commitment. Like, So let me ask you this before I give kind of like my perspective of it, or at least from the male side that I hear. Do you feel like it's men that's not wanting to commit? Or do you think it's women that don't want to make that commitment because of trust issues? Or do you feel like it's a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both, for sure. I think commonly we see the men not wanting to make those those commitments, or, whatever. They may have trust issues and things. But women, it's both. I don't want to just say, no, it's just all on the men, things like that.
I hope
women,
not.
Especially, I will say, from personal experience, coming from, depending on how you grew up. And if you had a dad in the household, because we know, like, a father is the first person to show you, like, outside of them teaching you about God, how you're supposed to be treated, that you are, royalty, you are the apple of God's eyes, all of the above, And so without that, I do know that it does play a role in how you're like, okay, how should I be treated? What should I expect? What's too high of an expectation?
Yeah.
Or am I doing too much? Things like that. Is it okay? Is that them? Should I help them mature? Can I change them? Ladies, the answer is no. We cannot change them. And so it's all of those things, really.
No, that makes sense. That last part I think you said was interesting. I heard it said, and I'm probably going to mess this up, so I try to say it as best as I can, but I've heard it said that, like, men get in relationship with women. Oh, I'm sorry. Women get in relationships with men hoping they change, and they never do. Men get into relationships with women hoping they stay the same, and they change. And so that I just always thought that was a really interesting quote. And I've seen I don't know if I can't say from my experience. My experience is a little more unique with you than like what some people saying. But just from hearing other people talk, a lot of relationships seem to bear out like that. So just to that last point. So I would say, going into what you were talking about with the lady side, I think the thing that has to be acknowledged is that relationships are difficult, even outside of dating, friendships. Everybody, it's really hard to get along with people sometimes, especially with longer relationships.
Yeah, think about like college and being in the dorm, little with somebody you don't know.
Don't even get me started with that.
No matter if they got the same major, you don't know them. So yeah, it's hard to just.
We both had struggles with roommates. I think most people that were in college had some struggles with that.
There's a few who best friends to this day, but not me.
Relationships take work on all levels, whether it's with your siblings, whether it's with parents. roommate in college, all these different kinds of relationships take work. It's not
Co-workers, all the above. Yeah.
yeah. So it's always going to be some work that's involved with it. I think the issue that comes in is people don't treat they don't treat dating the same way that they treat other things. So we come into other things. Like I don't like with the guys, I'm not thinking about like all of these superficial things with like all like guy friends. Usually it's mutual interest. It's things that help to build up interaction that leads to friendship. But with a lot of dating and stuff like that, it starts on the outward. You look at a person and you're attracted to them. So it starts from a real, I think, fleshly type of thing. Even for Christians.
And then you swipe right or left, depending on. Just kidding. I don't even know which one.
Yeah, she's no.
I don't even know.
None of us have ever done dating apps like that, but we know people that have.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to the main topic. So why are they avoiding marriage? I think the way friendships are constructed, I think for starters, are the issue. And two, just the fears. I think many people have been in situations where like whether it was their parents or someone close to them, seeing so many marriages fail and all of these different things can really scare you out of like wanting to pursue things. And I think that fear of committing to something that you know is lifelong. I mean, till death do you part is what we say with marriage. So knowing that you're saying to death do you part and you're committing to that and that, all these different things are going to come into play. That's where you're like, okay, not only do I trust this individual with my life to that degree, but then it's like, do I trust myself in that? Like, do I trust myself with this one person for all my life? Because we're in a world now, especially with social media. I mean, people could always find women and stuff like that, but with so much sex and all these different things that are, I think, available to people, it's just so much easier to access women, so much easier to get to those things. And it's even from the perspective of like, a lot of people just are avoiding real humans in general with like, the explicit stuff online and stuff with porn and all of that. So it's just so many other things out there than just having to actually interact with people. And I'm sure the pandemic just made it a lot worse because we were indoors for so long.
I don't want to deal with it. It's just like, nope, just get the pleasure. Then I'll be good.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of reasons why they're avoiding it, but the root of it comes back down to like, I think commitment. I think also just in what it means to be a man. So a lot of men nowadays, are being raised up to be just boys for life or much longer than women are. Like I can speak for myself. Like I wasn't thinking about marriage really until like maybe in my 20s. Whereas
That's
girls,
crazy. Oh my gosh.
Girls are thinking about marriage much longer. That is like
thinking about the color theme of our wedding. We thinking about what kind of ring cup we want. We thinking about who can be our bridesmaids. Even though your friends will probably definitely change from who you growing up with. But no, we definitely started thinking about that much earlier.
I don't know a lot of guys. I can't speak for every guy out there, but I can say most of the guys I knew, they were thinking about a lot of things, but marriage really wasn't one of those things. They're thinking about how somebody looks. They're not even talking about marriage. They're talking about what they can, they might like the companionship of having, a significant other girlfriend and stuff, but they're talking about sex. They're talking about the status that they're going to get from it, like how it's going to make them look being in a relationship. I have
a lot of friends who also are like that too.
Oh, absolutely.
So not all my friends, me, I was thinking about marriage. I knew I wanted to get married, all the above. But no, not all of my friends was thinking like that too. You're right. It was like a nice boyfriend with a nice car. That was a big one. I remember like in high school and stuff. No, it depends, of course, we're saying, but in general, I think even if the ladies don't admit it, like when we're younger and things like that, they were still thinking about like, getting married and things, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think superficial stuff doesn't escape women. Like, and I'm not saying that's all men, like men think about and then women are only think about marriage. No, but I think the difference is we're not having sleepovers talking about like we're not talking about our Princess Charming or whatever.
We put our name with the man's last name and see if it flows. Like, oh yeah, we.
The conversations are way different from guys and girls. Like I'm not saying all girls are just talking about being married, but there is a certain level of like purity of like women, especially younger girls and stuff like that, where it's like wanting more wholesome things at earlier ages, whereas we just don't get that until much later. Usually, a lot of guys don't get that until they feel like that they've already went through and done all the stuff that they needed to do, nasty stuff, and then they're ready to like, you know, be a one-woman man. And I think that's the issue, is backwards. And it needs to be, I think both need to be preparing themselves for their future and to be in position to be a husband or be a wife. And I think that needs to be the narrative. It's not the most popular one. It's not what people are often talking about, but if people want to be, like young people talk about wanting success. I know I wanted to be successful. And we talk about wanting success, but then we don't do the things, maybe we're not aware of them. I know I wasn't, but we don't do the things that actually statistically bring success, which is getting married and having a nuclear family, all of those different things, how that brings financial stability into your household and ultimately opens up the door for God to then bless your household because you're showing a level of faithfulness, whether it's faithfulness to the person that you're in a relationship with, faithfulness to your job, faithfulness in life, faithfulness to God, of course, at the top, you know, God at the top, of course, in the center of it. So I think what it comes down to is having your priorities together when you're young isn't necessarily pushed. And a lot of young people, especially through media and all the stuff that's out there, are more pushed in the direction of, hey, your 20s are all for fun. Your teens and your 20s are all for fun. Figure it out when you get 30. And if you wait till you're 30 to start to figure stuff out, especially as a woman, like it really hurts you because a lot of the guys that, so if you were out and just speaking to women, like if you were out just doing whatever all throughout your 20s, when you hit your 30s and you are now ready to settle down and get married to the guy that has it all together and stuff like that, those guys generally don't want those women that have just done whatever all that time, you know. And then on the flip side with the men, if you just go around doing whatever in your 20s and stuff like that, and then once you get to 30s, women have more education than men by and large. Women are looking for, you know, I believe men and women are both hypergamous, which means they usually date up higher. But these women, once they're in their 30, if you're looking for somebody that meets the department of looks and the things that you want, like, it's going to be hard for you to get that woman if you don't have any money, you're not doing well for yourself, you're addicted to drugs.
You got to play her.
Yeah, you're going to have a much harder time attracting those type of quality women. And so I think that's what it comes down to. So with people avoiding marriage, the big issue with that is, especially at a younger age, when you're just kind of just sticking around, you know, cohabitating. I sound really old talking about cohabitating, but like this is the thing when you're just sticking around.
Shacking up? No. What? If you know. Yeah.
If you're just sticking around and just, you know, trying to act like you're married, but not actually put it in because, you know, the world is up against you and all of these different excuses, or you don't want to make that commitment, you're actually creating a more dysfunctional situation for your family. And I feel like when people that are not committed to whatever cause that they're in, you're just bringing more room for dysfunction. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And then a lot of people look at the stats and whether you're married or not, you know, I haven't checked them in the last couple of weeks, you know, things like that. But it's like a 50-50 shot or things like that. Yeah. It's like, this could last, it cannot last. So, you know, why even put that label on it? And then I find a lot of people trying to demote it and say, oh, it's just a piece of paper. I think it's now crazy. Just a piece of paper because you feel like people are not actually committing to that. So I would say, first of all, look at the people who it is working for. Look at the people who is doing it and who are being transparent about what the work it takes.
Exactly.
You know, about what it entails and things. And so you can be in that other 50% things. I don't have to be. And not every person is the same. I can say that some women, and not everybody, trust me, not everybody, are starting to be more reflective and seeing that, okay, not every person is the same, but it's something about me that is attracting and saying yes to the same type of guy. But wanting different results. And so we know that's insanity. Yeah. And there you go. That's another reason why people don't want to commit. Because you're still looking for these same qualities, just there are different people, different ages, whatever, different places you met them, no matter you need a big move. But you still up there attracting the same type of guy, you're going to get the same results. So you got to do something different, switch it up. And if you know, like if you've been raised up in the church and things like that, and you know scripture, you got to get into that and see, like, what do I want? What does God want for me? What is going to work for me? Because sometimes what we want is not what's best for us. And so we hate to hear it, but it's real.
Yeah, what's true is true at the end of the day. Bible says he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor. So it's like for men, it's a winning bet for you to find the wife. And for women, it's a winning bet for you to position yourself for that husband, as early as possible all throughout life. And for maybe women that have younger children, younger boys, make sure that they are looking for wives, not looking for just women to have fun with or do whatever with, because that'll set them back from getting married if they're just, squandering away their teens and their 20s.